All right, so this is week 3 of B207B, and the learning objectives are these. Remember that the learning objectives would always have the keywords that you need to study this session. So we have some keywords here, the implications of globalization. We will look into the macro and micro environment factors. We will see what the modes of entry of the international marketing is, and we will also look at the difference between globalization and customization for marketing. So nowadays, most businesses work in a global context. Most companies will find themselves competing against global businesses. Al-Baik is a local company, has found itself competing with KFC and with other fast food restaurants. Any business available today in the market, Herfi is a local company, right? It finds itself competing with Subway and with Burger King and also other fast food restaurants. So what are global companies? Global companies start in their local markets. So they start on a small scale, they become very successful, and then they expand. They try to open new branches and expand to other countries. Why do they want to do that? Oh. Why do they want
To
to do
increase
that?
their profit, maybe.
Yes, absolutely. To increase their profits and their presence, and of course for competition. Now here we have some terms. We have what we call a multinational corporation or company. It's called MNC. So when you see the term MNC, it's a multinational company. It's defined as a firm that has the power to coordinate and control operations in more than one country, even if it doesn't own them. Okay, so even if it doesn't own these operations, but still it has a presence in more than one country. Now, global firm is defined as a firm that by operating in more than one country has some advantages. The advantages are in the form of R&D, research and development, marketing, production, financial advantages. Now here we have to stop at this point. We have to think why. What is your explanation? Why do these global organizations have this advantage? Can you explain why global organizations have R&D, production, and marketing advantages? They have to show their products to the world, but here we're speaking about a financial advantage. Why do they have advantage over local companies? Okay. We said that global organizations started with their local markets first, right? They created the product, they created the marketing strategy, and they decided about everything that needs to be done about this marketing strategy and how the product will look like. So they have already made a lot of investments into creating the product itself and into finding a good product that meets some customers' needs and wants, right? So they have already gone a long way into creating something innovative, new, likable by customers, and so on. Because if the company was not successful, they wouldn't think about expanding. Okay? Thinking about expanding means that the company is already a successful one. Okay? So here, the company will have financial advantage. Okay, because they already spent money on doing that. Now all they have to do is copy and paste the same strategy. Okay, with some customization, of course. We will talk about the customization. So they have to do it again and again and again and again in different countries. And this is where profits come in. Okay, this is what we call economies of scale. Okay, economies of scale, there is very big advantage when you do something in big quantities. Okay, so imagine you want to make one cake to sell it, or you want to make 100 cakes to sell. Which one will cost you less? One cake or 100 cakes? Per unit. Which one will cost you less per one? Okay, when you make 100 cakes, the cost per unit, okay, of course, will become less because you will buy your products, your flour and sugar and eggs in bulk. Okay, you will make things at the same time. Okay, instead, when you make one cake, it will take you longer and it will cost you more because you are only focused on this one unit. All right, so this is the type of advantage we are talking about for the global organizations. Okay, of course, global organizations have some risks associated, the possible economic and government instability. So there is a possibility that you go to a country and then there is instability in the country, political or government or change of regulation or anything like that. Trade barriers. What are trade barriers? Jamaica, exactly. So we have barriers between countries to do business. Okay, because of politics and because of certain deals that your government could make with other countries, it could be easier for you to do business with some countries rather than the others. Also because of the diverse cultural preferences and practices. You need to study, you need to research very well what is the culture there and what people need and want exactly from your product. Okay, so here in marketing, we need to pursue the mission, the vision, and the values by analyzing the market and choosing a marketing strategy, formulating the offering. Okay, the word offering is extremely a keyword here and very important. It consists of the 4 P's of marketing, the marketing mix. You want to implement, you want to monitor, and you will evaluate the market over there. So what are the triggers or reasons for companies going overseas, for companies going global? What are the reasons? Okay, so it's the first 3 talk about the domestic market. Okay. Yeah, so let's start with the domestic markets. So it's either saturated, مشبع, يعني خلاص, you have reached your limit. And who saturated, مشبع, يعني you have reached your limit in who you can target in your local market. Your sales are not improving. Okay, you need to improve your sales over time. So they're not improving. Or you have a small domestic market. Domestic markets يعني local markets. Okay. A low growth market, low growth, it's growing slowly. لا, يعني it grows slowly. Usually markets grow within a certain rate. Okay, but your market it's growing slowly because maybe the level of birth is not high. Maybe people are not moving into the area that you are serving, and so on. So this is the low growth domestic market. So because of these reasons of your domestic market, you might want to find other markets, other areas to serve to make your money. Also, you have customer drivers. Okay, the customers are driving, يعني are requesting your product to be sold. مين؟
flexible privilege from customer drivers because لو يشغل العمل الأسمياء يكسبوا.
Okay, but here what this means, the reason to go to another country is that you know that customers in that other country are requesting your products. This is what customer drivers is, okay? Because you know there is a demand for your product in this other country. So you go sell your products over there. You have competitive forces. Of course, this is the number one reason for being global is that you want to compete. It's because of competition, all right? And the cost
I think, Doctor, competition, it becomes harder when we go international.
Yes, but you go international because you don't want your competitors to become number one. You are competing with your with your competitors, right?
The competitors who are in the domestic area.
Who are in the global area as well. يعني Burger King and McDonald's, for example. McDonald's expanded. Burger King wants to expand because. Yes. Okay. So any two competitors, you see, they compete on going on more countries and more geographic locations, because if they don't compete with their big competitors, eventually they will die. Okay, their company will die. Cost factor is the factor that I spoke about before. It makes sense since you have already done the product design, and imagine this iPhone. Okay, if you make it only for 1 million people, it's very expensive. But if you make it for whatever 500 million people, the cost of designing and creating this phone becomes less expensive. Okay, so the cost factor here also is companies will make even more money when they sell to a bigger number of customers overseas. The last one is the portfolio balance. Portfolio balance is having a balance between different countries. So in case one of the countries' economics go down, you still have other places to make it up. So there's a saying that says, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't spend, rely only on one area. Okay? May have it diversified. This is what portfolio balance means. So now, before going to a new country, you have to understand the external factors of this new country. And this is something that I'm sure you have already seen, the macro environment. Maybe you have seen it as a little bit different than this term. You have seen it as step factors, right? STEP. We are talking about exactly the same thing here, but right now we are we are having more factors involved. Okay, so STEPL stands for social, technological, economic, environmental, political, legal, and ethical factors. Now, you have a business, okay, and then you have a small domestic market, and you think you want to expand your business into, let's say, the United Arab Emirates, okay, to Dubai. Why is it important to understand these factors in Dubai before you jump into a new market? Why do you need to know? Right, it will affect your business because this is your business. The steeple factors are the external factors that are affecting your business. And guess what? You have no control over them. You cannot control them. You cannot control the society, the social trends around you. You cannot control the technological advancements and trends and how technologically advanced the country is. You don't have this control. All right, this is beyond you. You can't control the economy of the country. You can't control the environmental factors happening around. So this is why you have to research and know exactly what is going on, how are these factors rated, how they look like before you jump into a new location, right? So here we are giving examples of the steeple factors, okay? But these are not in order. So for every point, I will read the point and you are going to tell me to which point this belongs. All right, so let's start with the first one. The trading systems, the individual governments and trading blocs may try to protect domestic companies, control trade, and raise revenues through a variety of means. These may include imposing charges like the tariffs and duties, جمارك. So every place you want to go, maybe if you want to export your products to Dubai, okay, if there are any tariffs, which are the taxes that you pay upon entering the country, then you need to be aware of that before jumping and sending your products to Dubai, okay, or to Turkey, for example, or to any other country. You have to learn about this. So the trading system, where do you think it belongs? Does it belong to the social factors? Yes, so it's somewhere between political and legal. Yes, it's political because it involves the policies between countries, okay? The policies and the rules and regulations between countries. Maybe if you want to send your products to the United Arab Emirates, you don't pay any tariffs because between Saudi Arabia and all the Gulf countries, there is a kind of, it's like a union where things happen smoothly. Okay, just like it's in the European Union, just like it's between the United States and Mexico, because these are bordering countries. All right, so they have a kind of what we call them تحالف or اتفاقيات. Okay, they have these things between the countries that make it much easier for businesses to do business together. All right? Perfect. So the second one is the sociocultural consideration. This is obvious. It can be easier for an organization to operate at least initially in a country that is similar to it. Okay, so you see the Saudi companies will first go and expand into the Gulf area, okay, before they go more international. Why? Because the social and the cultural factors are similar initially. Of course, there will be some differences, but they are initially similar in terms of the language, of the culture, religion, and so on. Okay, so this is what? This is a social factor. Technological consideration. If your product is about maybe should be sold online or should be sold through apps, you need to make sure that the country that you go to is technologically advanced. There is good internet, there are good apps to support your product and so on. All right, so you need to understand how advanced technologically, okay, the country is. Now, what about the economic considerations? Things about the economy itself. Like what? How do you know if the economy of the country is good or is suitable for you to sell your products or not?
When they don't have inflation, they have demand and supply normal in the normal range, but they are not like too expensive or the products are too cheap.
All right. Okay. Very good. Very good terms. These are all economic terms. Supply and
country
demand.
is not suffering. The country is not suffering from unemployment.
Absolutely. So you have to look
Income
at
levels are
certain,
normal.
Great answer. I think you have taken an economic course. Excellent. This is great.
Yes,
Thank
before,
you.
yes.
That's perfect. So this is how you look into the economy. Yes, it's a very good answer. Thank you. So you look at the supply and demand when it comes to a product similar to your product or service. You look at things like unemployment and employment rate. You look at the distribution of income, how much money people have, and how much what we call disposable income, yani money for them to spend on leisure after they spend on their food and their house and their school, for example. How much money do they have still have to spend on luxuries, for example, or on extra things? So this is the type of things, and all of these have metrics, they have numbers for you to look at, and then decide if the country is economically feasible for you to be in. Okay, some additional aspects to steeple the political and legal considerations. Some countries are more encouraging to international trade than others. Some countries encourage foreign companies to come and open branches and do business on its soil because they believe that they need this diversification and they need these products to be sold. Okay, so this is political and legal considerations as well. Also, for ethical and legal considerations, you have to learn about what makes things ethical or non-ethical in this other country. For example, what's ethical for you might not be considered ethical by a different culture or nation. So you need to understand the difference. This is also related to the society and the culture and how people are raised, how people are attached to their ethics and things like that. Okay, again, these are factors for you also to understand how to deal with the country that you want to operate in. So we are done with what was this called? Macro environment. Okay, don't confuse macro and micro environment. The micro environment, on the other hand, is composed of these factors. Okay, these are the factors that are closer to the company, that have direct contact with the company. Of course, it's the company itself, the consumers of the company, the marketing intermediaries, like the retailers, the distributors, the agents and stuff, the suppliers of the company. Who are the suppliers? The suppliers.
They provide the materials.
Yes, they provide the materials and the raw materials. The competitors also, and the publics. Okay, so notice that these factors are closer to the organization, and you might have, it's true that these are external to the organization, but you might have a little bit of more control over these than the macro environment. The macro environment, you have zero control over it. Okay, you might be able to find your way through those factors, but micro environment, you have zero influence. But here you could have some control over these stakeholders. Okay, now this table summarizes what are the advantages and the disadvantages of globalization for each one of these. Okay, now let's try to think it out loud. Okay, so we are going to think in a loud voice, what are the advantages of globalization for the organization? What do you think? What's the advantage of globalization for the organization? We said it.
They will have more chances like to get
Absolutely.
profit money.
chance for a greater profit, more opportunities, more customers. We have a chance for higher profit. This is why we expand globally. Okay, what are the disadvantages? Absolutely, more responsibility.
New regulations.
Yes, can you repeat?
New regulations.
Yes, if there are new regulations, so you are taking a higher risk, okay? Because you have more responsibility, you have a market that is new to you, that you are not familiar with, you have to do your homework before going there, and so on, so you have a higher risk, okay? Let's go to the second one. For consumers, what is the advantage of globalization for consumers?
They can buy like from different places with the lower prices, maybe.
Right. So yes, they have more options. Okay, consumers have more options, and maybe they can't find a local company that meets their need and want. They find it with a global company that meets their need and want. So for consumers, more options, maybe more competition on the price, better price for them, and more options for them. طيب, what is the disadvantage of globalization for consumers? A lower quality? Not really, because globalization, you have more competitors who are also competing on the quality. So consumers will have higher quality products for lower prices because more competitors now are competing. The disadvantage is what? Okay. So here we have erosion.
Maybe the acceptance for the product itself.
Yes, we have erosion of own culture. What does this mean? So now because
the product doesn't fit the culture.
Yes, the product might not fit the culture. So let me ask you this question. As consumers, what is your favorite cuisine? Restaurant? What? Fuddruckers, okay. What else?
Piatto.
Piatto. Okay. Yes. You don't have a favorite cuisine? You can say Italian, you can say Chinese, you can say Baituti. Okay. All right. So many of you would think about cuisines that are not of Arab origins. Okay. A lot of you would say, well, I love Lebanese cuisine, for example. But the majority would say, I like Chinese, I like sushi, I like Italian, I like Vietnamese, whatever. Okay, Indian. Oh, it's so good. Indian is very good. Okay, so with the availability of so many different options, and so we are now exposed to the cultures of the whole world. This is an erosion. We are getting away from our own cultures. My kids, for example, they don't like the traditional Arabic dishes because they got the taste of, different types of cuisines. Now they have some other favorites like pasta, like.
So we're losing our culture identity.
Absolutely, this is the biggest disadvantage. It's losing little by little, and generation after generation, we are losing the culture's identities, and this is very unfortunate, and this is very sad. Look at how people dress, what they eat, the cars that they drive. Nothing is, you can't tell from which culture the person is anymore. Okay, so we are getting away from our own cultures. Next is marketing intermediaries. What is the advantage for marketing intermediaries?
They have more chances, like more options, more.
of course, they have more jobs, more opportunities to link organizations together, so more opportunities to work. Okay, but the disadvantage, they might be regulated by the multinational corporation. Yani strict rules will be put on them. Same thing for suppliers. Okay, same thing applies for suppliers. Competitors, what's the advantage of globalization for competitors? If I am the company, what's the advantage to my competitor? Yes, if you have a loyal customers, then you know that they are really loyal, okay? And also having a competitor is actually good because it keeps you improving. Yes, it keeps you want to improve over time. All right, now for competitors, the disadvantage also, of course, it's an obvious disadvantage. It's the increased competition from local and global companies. For example, for Al-Baik, for example, Al-Baik had so much competition from companies like KFC, like the other burger places and stuff. All right. For the publics, which means the regular people, the community around it, we have convergence of cultures. The cultures are now converting together. We now get to understand more and more what other cultures are about through their food, through their cultures, the way they dress, from the movies that we watch, from this open world that we are in nowadays through social media. We understand other cultures much better than any time else than before. Okay, so this is the plus on one side, but also, just like we said before, for consumers, we are also getting away little by little from our own cultures and having a more like an international general culture that everybody knows now and everybody follows. We're getting there. Any questions so far?